Okay, we're going to get started. This is our first TBHF 30 by 30. We're so excited about this new series. It's 30 minutes with 30 of our legends to get to know the personality behind the legends. So this is a little different than what we've done in the past. It's so good to see everyone today. I think I know most of you. I'm Meredith Walker, Executive Director at the Texas Business Hall of Fame. And I want us to get started, so I'll make quick introductions. Paul DeJoria, the feature of this, our first event, he doesn't need much of an introduction. I think all of you know who he is. In addition to being one of our legends, which we're super proud of, he's the co-founder of Paul Mitchell and Patron and a million other ventures. And very importantly, he's the founder of JP's Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation, which all of you know what we honor are business leaders who use their success to make the world better. And he is a very fine example of that. In addition to John Paul, we have my good friend and rock star journalist, Mimi Schwartz, as our guest moderator. She's the longtime executive editor at Texas Monthly. She's the winner of 2 national magazine awards. It might even be more than that at this point. Regular contributor to the New York Times, New Yorker, Vanity Fair, you name it. She's been in it. And Mimi, I'm just going to turn it over to you. And thank you so much for being our guest moderator today.
Well, thanks, Meredith, for that introduction. I'm very excited. I want to ask all hair care questions, but they've told me I can't do that. So I just wanted to start with what you think your greatest achievement is.
I think my greatest achievement is the fact that I'm able to make a big difference in millions of people's lives throughout the world better, especially in our nation, and of course, globally. Happier, better off, able to eat, drink, have security, just a variety of things to make people a lot happier, into the millions of people. And I'm continuing for over 1 billion.
So can you tell me just a little more about how you do that?
Oh, sure, you bet. For example, here at home in Austin, let's take the homeless, because they were kind of down and out these last few years. One of the major contributors, millions of dollars, to Mobile Loaves and Fishes, the community, where we build little houses for homeless. They could have them forever. They go in there and they're able to have a place to stay. We have organic gardens, eat out of organic gardens. It's their own house as long as they want. Now they have to pay rent, because if you don't pay rent, you take it for granted. So let's say the rent is, for example, $150 a month, okay? But they don't have any subsidy, no problem. We have wood shop, we have metal shop, we have craft shop, we have, organic, everything you could ever imagine there. So they could actually work, get enough money to pay their rent, and have some dollars left over. At the same time, eating better than millionaires eat. They eat organic out of our organic garden as much as they want. Fruits, things of that nature. So that was one really, really big one. I could give one in another place. Let's take Africa, for example. In one of the most poorest, most impoverished areas, and there is a group called Food for Africa. The number 4, Food for Africa. What we do, we take care of about 7,000 kids every single day. 7,000. That's between my donations and our Paul Mitchell school donations that the kids raise money for. What it is, all the children are 1 day old to maybe their early teens. Every one of them, as parents, have died or about to die of AIDS. They're the ones that nobody wants. We take them in, we educate them, we feed them, we give them protection, and they're able to go back into society instead of dying or become drug addicts, or who knows what happens if they're left in the wilderness. So I think those are just a couple of big accomplishments. I mean, Paul Watson is one of the greatest people ever to defend the open seas. And when Paul Watson had, shall we say, challenges with the US division of Sea Shepherd, he went ahead while he's going through his litigation and started the Paul Watson Foundation. And I was able to buy him his first big ship, which saves tons of animal life that he was protecting before they didn't want to protect anymore, by actually going after it. So these are just a few of the many things. But if someone goes online to JP's Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation, they'll see just a majority of things like this. There's quite a few more than I'm even mentioning right now. So it's really nice to be able to give back. Success unshared is failure.
So I have a question about reading. When you were young, were you a big reader? And if so, what did you read?
Not until the 7th grade. When I was in the 7th grade, I was like, the cast, I'll call it maybe the class clown. I would always be talking. So, and I would just do everything in the classroom. That was it. I wouldn't even read the books or anything. In my 7th grade, my homeroom teacher said, Johnny, I've got a great thing for you. I'm going to put you into remedial reading for this next semester. I said, remedial reading? That's a class for dummies. No. She said, yep, it's going to be the best thing that ever happened in your life. I went into remedial reading, and it was the best thing for educational reading, because in remedial reading, they teach you how to pronounce words and read words by syllables, like representative, anti-disestablishmentarianism. All of a sudden, the whole world opened up. I knew how to read easily and not just pass up all the words I didn't know or look them up in a dictionary. So I went from a D student to a B student in 1 semester. That was a huge thing in my life when it came to reading. So I read a few books when I was in school that were very, very interesting, but I might recommend for your audience 2 of the best books you could ever get. One's 90 years old, maybe 100 years old. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is a must for everybody. Another really good book for people to read that kind of gives you an idea of your health, and that is you're not hungry, you're not sick, you're thirsty. You're not sick, you're thirsty. And it's all about water, how you have to consume enough water. And if you did, you would eliminate 50% of all diseases, period. Plus, I like reading interesting books. Books like, for example, Gods of Eden, which has a history of this world going back 12,000 years or more. It kind of look controversial on parts of it, but most of it is pretty accurate. It's pretty cool to read.
Oh, this is great. Now, I also heard, are you a cook?
Well, not a real good one. I have a good chef, though.
So what do you like to eat? Are you totally organic? Are you vegan?
Well,
Are you
try and go as organic as we possibly could. We have here in Austin and other places some organic gardens that we have here, and so we eat organically. And our chef goes out and buys organically. So we're pretty much, I'd say, probably in about 90% organic. I'm not a vegan, but I eat probably the majority of vegetables opposed to anything else.
Let's see. What about, do you have a person? I mean, you mentioned Dale Carnegie, but are there people in your life who influenced you, who were mentors even?
Well, unfortunately, I never really had a mentor in my life other than my mom encouraging us on. But there were some people that I really look highly as unbelievable. Like take, for example, in the past, I would have loved to meet Leonardo da Vinci. He was a game changer. He was brilliant, talented, and he moved things around, and he did it cleverly so he wouldn't get killed by the Catholic Church that would kill him. They knew what he was trying to really express. It was one way in those days. I think today Elon Musk is a great example of someone that's successful. What you could do? He's not only a disruptor, but he helps out things that he thinks will benefit the entire planet. And for him taking over Twitter now and exposing all the unfortunate bullshit that's been going on in that world is wonderful. He's opening up freedom. He's a man with free speech, and I really respect that man. All of his things he comes out with are very helpful to people, very, very helpful. And he's not afraid to stand up against the establishment and say, you guys were wrong. You may be running this country, but look what you did. You lied, you did this wrong, you suppressed information. He's a real hero, and I think people should give him nothing but good credit for that, for exposing the truth.
Have you hung out with him in Austin? Now he's an honorary Texan. Have you met him?
It's interesting. I met him, but I met him before he actually sold the first Tesla S. He came by my house, and he had lunch with Eloise and I, and took me for a ride in this new Tesla 4-door he had. And it was just unbelievable. I immediately ordered 2 of them. And I know my wife has been driving a Tesla ever since, because it's just a great car. So we met him. He's a great guy. We recently were in the south of France with him at a mutual friend's wedding. Had a chance to say a few words to him. He's a good guy. He's a straight shooter and a good guy.
Wow. Are there other Texans that strike you as, that you think are important, that are going to shape our future?
Well, we've got a lot of them out there that's like that. But I look at some people that are really trying to make major changes that were in politics. One is Rick Perry. Rick Perry was our governor for 3 terms. One became Secretary of Energy for the United States, got out. And I talk to Rick, probably once every other month. But right now he's getting into things that help make people's lives better and change it for the best, which I think is wonderful. So hooray for him and wave a big flag. Another fellow who has a very interesting story, another politician here, is Ken Paxton. He's the Attorney General. This guy came from unbelievable odds to even get into politics, let alone doing what he's doing. But the guy, I've had dinner with him and met with him on more than one occasion. He is a really good guy and really cares about the people. Politics, he says, are one thing, but it's the people that we're hired to protect and do. So I have the greatest respect for that man, just phenomenal. And of course, all the people through the Texas Business Awards that have been given these awards associated with it, they care about making changes for other people. And I think that is just really, really super, really super.
So I'm going to switch a little and ask you about exercise since you're very into health. What's your exercise regimen?
Well, mine's kind of easy. One, when I was in high school, I was in gymnastics. So I was lucky and kind of fit. But my regular regimen is maybe 3 days out of the week. It takes 3 minutes. And they're called the perfect push-up. They're Navy SEAL push-ups. We have these little things you turn like that as you go up and down. It's not easy, but I'll do like 27 of those. I'll wait about a minute or two. Then I'll do another 16 or 17 of them. Wait a minute or two. Then I'll do another maybe 13 of them. 3 times a week. That's it. But it's something that really gets your entire body. I try and walk, but maybe not as much as most people do. But I try and get an average of about 30 minutes a day minimum. Or a treadmill or walking around, because I think that's one of the best exercises. You could eat perfectly. Everything is ideal, but if you don't exercise, you're not going to achieve the outcome.
Yeah. And what about movies? Are you a screener? Do you go to the theater? Do you have a favorite series?
My wife does get some movies because she's part of the Screen Actors Guild, and she was previously an actress, been in a few movies here. So we get some movies we get to watch here at home on our own little home theater. And we go out to the movie theaters occasionally, not on a regular basis, but I think we're more into like at night before we go to bed and before we turn the TV off so we can get ready to go to bed. That we like to watch these different series on TV. There's some pretty good ones there. We like to watch the funny ones.
So do you have a favorite?
Boy, there are so many of them out there. I think the one that keeps on popping up, and it's been around forever, is one called Friends. It's like very lighthearted. So we watch that.
Oh, yeah.
It's very lighthearted. I don't think it's been on the air for 5-10 years, but it's so good that we watch it a little bit. It's fun.
Yeah. And so what about fashion? Are you and your wife into fashion? Do you have a favorite designer?
Very good. Eloise, my wife, is into fashion. She is the fashion person. Am I into fashion? No. She kind of directs me a little bit like, hey, you don't put the gray and the black and a green together, JP, So she tweaks me. Eloise is really good at that. She tweaks me.
Well, all right. Let's see. What else do you have a personal motto?
Yes, I do. And my personal motto is success unshared is failure.
Oh, great. That's very nice. I love that. All right. Can you remember when and where, maybe it's today, when you were the happiest? Is there a moment in your mind where you sort of go to when someone poses that question?
That's a very, very good question to ask. And my answer is basically a very honorable one. And I was kind of, I think, born very, very lucky. I've been happy most of my life. I've been through some real tragedies and some real diversity, whether it's in foster care or whatever, but I was always a pretty happy kid. So I'm really lucky there. But I think a moment that I really smiled and I said, God bless America, was I was awarded in the Supreme Court of the United States, the only award ever given the Supreme Court, Horatio Alger Award, for entrepreneurs or people that have achieved something and brought other people along with them. And I felt really special having one Supreme Court justices give me that award, honor me with it in the Supreme Court of the United States. I was like, wow, America really still works. It's great. One can come from homelessness to achieving great things and helping people out and get acknowledged by it. So there may be a lot of things weird about our government down in Washington, D.C., but there's a lot of still good things. America still works. And I think it's a good thing, by the way, that all this stuff going on in Washington and other places is being exposed, because it's been hidden all these years of how people in politics or the upper crust, whatever, gets away with murder. And they kind of control a lot of the press, and they control just a lot of of things that are unnecessary to keep the truth from American people. So I think by all this stuff being exposed, whether it's about the president or not, or just other people, whether it's the FBI, the Justice Department, whoever it is that did wrong, by exposing it, it keeps us a clear country to let people know, yeah, that stuff was going on, but we busted them. It's not going to happen anymore. We're going to bust every one of them. Yeah, they got control. They've got a lot of the media, not all the media, but a lot of the media they control is all one-sided. But by gosh, it's changing now. They're going to let the truth out. And I think that's a great thing for America. I still wave the flag and always will, because America does work and gives someone the opportunity to really go to greatness and hopefully help others out along the way.
And what media do you follow?
Well,
Who do you read?
yeah, that's good. I mean, I mainly go on Fox Business News. I mean, they're a little bit to the right, but the other side is too far to the left. And, you know, I think that they were influenced, and a lot of the reporters have to go along with whatever they're told to do. But there's some really good people with some of the other broadcasting networks. I'm surprised just, you know, didn't expose everything. But there are the good networks out there, really good networks out there. But my preference is Fox, because they may be a little bit to the right, but they tell you a little bit more about both sides, where the other side doesn't, you know, unfortunately. And hopefully that'll all change. You know, once again, there's some good media out there, and they just need more positive things on there, opposed to bashing the other party. They need, hey, America still works. Let's get together. Let's not say it's together. Let's not say I'm bringing everybody together and you're not. Let's be honest about it all and really bring America together, because it's we the people of the United States of America, not a separation.
Yeah. All right. Meredith is telling me we should open this up to other questions. So
Yeah. And I echo what JP just said. And I will say I wasn't overly impressed with the State of the Union last night, but our president closed with saying something very similar to what you just said. And yeah, it was at least a good closing. But turning it over to the audience, we want you all to raise your hand if you have a question, and you can ask. We talked before the call, you can ask him anything. We like the lifestyle type questions, but if you have a business question, JP will answer whatever you have. Matt, I saw your question first in the chat bar, so go ahead.
Thank you, JP. It's an inspiration to hear you talk, and also your speech at the induction ceremony was just amazing and inspirational. So thanks for that. My question is, right now in the current economic environment, what are you doing with your assets right now? Are you keeping powder dry? Is it a buy opportunity right now, or is stuff going to get worse?
Good question. I think things may possibly get a little bit worse. However, to answer your question, I do keep dry powder. However, I always look for opportunities. I don't aggressively look for it, but if an opportunity is set my way where it makes really good sense, an example, if there's a blue chip stock, first class all the way, and I don't buy that many stocks, but let's say there was one, and it's 30 or 40% undervalued of what they think it should be in 1 year, I may buy some of that, you know, especially a blue chip, because when you get recommendations from the big brokers that, hey, this is 30 or 40, more than 30% undervalued, and it pays a little bit of a dividend. In 1 year, we expect it to be at least 30% higher. I may put a little bit in there, but it's a good time to keep a little bit of dry powder. In fact, my suggestion for most people is have enough money in a stupid savings account, which pays no interest whatsoever, but have enough for 6 months to pay all of your bills. I mean, going to the movie theater, putting gas in your car, your insurance, your mortgage, or your rent, or your utility bills, all in the bank. So no matter what happens in your life, you know, if you lost everything, you've got 6 months running to get it together again. Makes you feel a little more secure.
Thank you so much. That's great.
You're welcome, sir.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, Hugo, you're up next.
Thanks. Well, JP, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your experiences. My question is more on the professional side regarding milestones you had along the way and some of the challenges you faced during that time.
Oh, very good. Well, as most of you know, I started Paul Mitchell with no money. Our backer pulled out. So I left everything I was doing and started into my car. My contribution was $350. My partner's contribution was $350. And that's how we started. And that was extremely difficult. But we knew we could make it. We just knew we could. In fact, I would recommend everybody watching, Go online or go to just the internet and look up Good Fortune, the documentary Good Fortune, like Good Fortune. It's the entire history of how I started Paul Mitchell with nothing and built it into, well, today I believe it's the largest privately owned salon haircare company in the world. How I went from nothing and homeless to that, or how I started Patron tequila in 1989, knowing nothing about the alcohol business. It's a really good education. In fact, when they did that documentary on me, the agreement was to show what I did and how I got there and how you give back along the way and how it helps, not how much I have. I think it'd be very interesting for you guys to see. You'll see the different things one had to overcome. So people say, well, you started homeless, JP, and you lived in your car, you started Paul Mitchell. How in the world you even pay your bills to start a company? It's all in that documentary. But the question I'd like to tell you right now, the answer is this to what you overcome. Two advices I give to all entrepreneurs, actually to everybody, two things. Number one, be prepared for a lot of rejection. That's the best thing I can tell you right now, okay? Like selling encyclopedias when I did door to door, you knock on doors and if 50 doors are slammed in your face, but you believe what you're doing is right, you're just as enthusiastic on door number 51 as you were on all 50 doors closed in your face. For me, it was a little over 100 doors closed in my face, right? But I finally got in and made it. That was commission only, by the way. So if you know you're going to have rejection along the way and you have obstacle, hey, I knew I'm going to have obstacles along the way. I'm going to have rejection. That's just one of them. No problem. I will, like water, go around it. I will overcome it. In the end, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Thank you for that.
That's funny.
Okay. Joseph Cabrera, did you have a question? Then we'll move on to other hands. I'm getting chats and hands. So
No, I do. Thanks, Meredith. JP, thank you so much for the time here today to be able to chat with you. Question on just kind of focus. I know I've heard you in the past talk about you're actually somebody who doesn't carry a phone very often, or you on purpose will not look at email so you can stay kind of focused at the task at hand. Just any advice for us out there? I mean, obviously you run some really successful businesses, keeping things fairly simple and straightforward. Just any additional thoughts on that?
There sure is. I'll even give you one sentence that describes it all, and I'll explain. The one sentence that describes it all is this: pay attention to the vital few, ignore the trivia many. Pay attention to the vital few, ignore the trivia many. I do not have email. I have never had email. I don't even turn a computer on. My companies are state-of-the-art in technology. My assistants obviously have everything. I don't have it. So if somebody sent me an email, for example, they finally get to me via one of my assistants and I read it, I will normally write the answer to them on that email, sign it, and have them email it right back to them. Handle a piece of paper once. If somebody needs to get a hold of me and I know the person is important, I pick up the phone and I call people. I'm not on the phone. I'm not on social media. I don't have any of those at all. I make phone calls. I do texting, and that's about the extent of it. That's all I do. I like the personal communications with people. All too often I see people carrying phones around with them, and every 5 or 10 minutes they're checking their phone for messages. Well, one way to get over this is the minute you go out, let's say to dinner, for example, or someplace, shut your phone off, shut it off, stick it in your pocket. Do not have your phone on the table next to you. If it's a real important call, tell everybody at the table, I'm sorry, I apologize for the phone being on the table. There's one important thing I have to look at when it comes through. Anything else I will not look at whatsoever. Apologize for it, because how rude to be at the table with somebody you're interrupted by looking at your phone all the time. So, and it's not going to hurt you any. I mean, most decisions don't have to be made within the next 15 minutes or the next hour or two. Most of communication is communication you can answer later, or try sometime not even using your email for a week. Just shut your phone off, leave a message. I'm not going to use email for a week. If it's really important, get a hold of blap, whatever, and I'll call you in a week, okay? Or call me in a week, whatever. I'm trying to get away from it. And there's a lot of junk you get, at least I see people get on email. Don't answer it, just ignore it, period. Only pay attention to the vital few, ignore the trivia many. You can't answer everything that's sent to you. And I would venture to say a lot of people are just copying on something, which is a waste of your time and energy. Hope that answers your question, sir.
Thanks, JP.
Gotcha.
okay, we have 6 minutes left and a lot of questions. I'm getting chats and hands. And I just want to say something for someone who doesn't have email and is not accessible all the time for mobile phone. When we went send something to JP's office, like our ballot to vote on or something like that. It's amazing without that technology, how quick your responses are. So that tells you a lot. Okay, so Robert, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Meredith. Really appreciate it, John Paul. I'm in my kitchen, so I'm multitasking here.
Cool.
But I just wanted to, I just wanted to ask, do you believe that empathy is something that's you're born with, or that you learn through, adversity and experience in life?
Yeah, that's a very good question. No one's ever asked that of me before. And the answer to that is, I really don't know. But I would think that maybe you are born with it. Some people are. But in life, when you see how you affect other people by truly caring about them, maybe it's built up a bit. Because I know in my early 20s, let's call it my bad boy days, maybe I didn't care as much as I should about people. I cared about them, like I would serve food at Griffith Park, for example, with my little young kid at Thanksgiving or at Christmas time, to do something to give back a little bit. But I didn't care about people, their welfare long-term as much as I do today. So I think in life, I always cared about people, like people. But today I really have empathy for people and a lot of bad situations. There's a lot of times where you say that person's really, really bad. But if you find out what made them angry or what made them upset and they confront it, sometimes it goes away, because you cannot change yesterday's newspapers. But you definitely got to have empathy for your fellow man. And if you keep on carrying on your shoulders the weights of hate, jealousy, regret, I wish you would have done that differently, like that person, all of a sudden you're going to carry this stuff with you throughout your whole life. And hate people, well, you're suffering more than the people you hate, or more than the situation you regret. And forgive yourself. It's a very good thing to do. Have empathy for yourself as well as for others. You cannot change yesterday's newspaper. Forget everything. To yourself, say, hey, I forget George for being a jerk. I forget Mrs. Castlebaum for giving me a D instead of a C minus. I mean, I forgive you. Get it off your back. You don't have to tell them to your face. Just forgive them. Get the energy off your face and just walk forward and have more empathy by doing this for people. Hope it answers that, Robert.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You betcha.
John, you're up.
All right, JP, a fellow Austinite here, longtime Austinite. Real curious, how much time do you, how do you balance time spent with your leadership teams between qualitative goals and quantitative goals?
That's a very good question. And how I spend my time reflects on this. I don't have a time schedule. I don't have a regular schedule where, okay, I'm up at 8 in the morning and all of a sudden at 5 o'clock I stop. When I get up, I will start, for example, and make calls to foreign entities. For example, in the morning, any calls I had to make to Europe, to groups that I have there. And as I go along and travel, I arrange for group meetings. So if I'm going to Europe on something particular, I will get, let's say, Paul Mitchell distributors all together in one location and their key accounts, and do a little business seminar, a little planning for now and the future, and how we're going to check on this while I am physically there. If I make a trip out to California, I will meet with my people at Paul Mitchell out there. And I'd say with New York, wherever I go, Florida, South America, I try and take what's important, have the meeting about it, but then look forward with them to what can we do in the future to make things better, and what can we talk about the next meeting that you come up with after this that we cannot possibly cover today because you forgot what it was all about. And now, how do we know the end result? When we have these meetings, we set our goal, and the goal is to reach a particular, shall we say, end goal. When they reach it, they let everybody know, hey, we reached it, and we all celebrate together. Until they reach that, they don't get that big goal, that big celebration.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question for one of our participants because they have some background noise. So Lauren Cornell, the president of our Alumni Association, she wanted to ask, what is the first thing you notice about a person and what does it tell you about them?
That's a good question. Whoa, I would say probably the first thing I notice about a person is they'll look me in the eye. In other words, they'll just look me straight in the eye and they'll be able to communicate with me. If they don't have that ability to do it, then I help them along the way. And a good way to help people along the way that you talk to, it happens all the time. They're looking somewhere else while you're talking to them. This is interesting. Stop talking. If you were talking to me and you weren't looking at me, I would talk right back to you, or I would say something back. But the minute you didn't look at me while I was talking, I would stop talking. And people immediately look back, and I would do that every time until they focus on me, period. Or if they say, well, why are you doing that? I'd say, I just want to talk to you when you're looking elsewhere, your attention's elsewhere. Works pretty good.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Do you have, we're at 12:29. Do you have time for one more question?
Of course I do.
Okay, Larissa, did you have a question? I didn't see it in the chat, but I was told you had a question.
Yes, I have a question. So first of all, JP, the things that you have accomplished are so inspiring, and thank you for all the impact that you have made. It makes me wonder if there is still some challenge out there that has eluded you, or some big goal that you're working towards that you could share with us.
Yes, there is. There certainly is. Okay. And my goal is to be able to touch far in excess of 1 billion people, either with good advice, information, or physically being there to lend a helping hand. And this does not include animals. This is just human beings. And I'm on my way to doing that, I think, quite well right now. And that's the big goal. I haven't reached it yet, but I think what will happen is when I get to that 1 billion people, I've helped them in their lives become better, then I'll probably go for 2 billion.
I love that.
And the thing is, Marissa, I will never, ever retire. It's just not in my words, okay? It's not even my vocabulary, retirement. And I'll give you guys all an interesting book to let you know how long you could really live if you knew it. The book is called Human, we're Human by Design. It's all on DNA, nothing to do with religion or politics, only DNA. What they discovered through DNA could never be discovered before was we were created. We humans were created, and well, I should say these bodies were created that we happen to live in right now, about 200,000 years ago. Now, who created us is going to be up to you. Was it an advanced civilization that came here? Was it a God in the sky? There was, who created? We don't know. But what they did, or for sure we don't know, okay, but what we know, they know for sure is we're able to live to, we're created to live 125 years. And it says why we don't live to be 125 years. Well, once I read that, I realized, wow, that changed my whole mindset here. So I went to nutritionalist and everything else. And I'll be 79 years old here in another 2 more months. And I could still do things that I could do when I was 20 years old. I have the energy I've had my entire life, hasn't lost that one bit. And it's also in my thinking. We're all electronic. This is fact. We're all electronic bodies. We're atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons. We're all electronic. So if you think something electronically, it sends a message like, that's hot, lift your foot off of it. The message is up there. In your mind, like when I was born in 1944, the average age in the United States, I don't even think was 60 years old, or maybe 65 maximum. So you didn't get much out of Social Security. So I thought, wow, if I live to be 60, I'm going to be really, really old. Somebody was 70 or 80 when I was born. They are ancient. Oh my God, how do they make it so far? Today, it's commonplace to go over 70, over 80. But when you know you go to 125, you adjust a few things to be able to do that, especially in your mindset.
Well, okay, we do have one more question. And
Sure, we're good, we're good.
okay, Mohammed, you have to close this out. Can you unmute? There we go.
Hi, Mohammed. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
We can hardly hear you, yeah. I think there's something wrong with your audio, Mohammed.
Yeah, or if you could talk a little louder, maybe that would do it. We could hear you, but very weak.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, there you go. You got it, Mohammed.
Okay.
Bring it
All
on.
right, perfect. So we have multiple sales channels in our company, and one of them is a door-to-door team. I heard you talking about it, and we have about 30 plus people working with us on the door-to-door team. I'd love to get like maybe a minute or so of you just talking about like when you were in the trenches doing all that. And I'd love to share it with the team as well if I have your permission. I think they would love that.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, in fact, what I sold encyclopedias was all door to door because I learned that you can overcome rejection and don't be afraid of someone slamming the door in your face and rejecting you. So when I started Paul Mitchell, we had no money. I went door to door. I bet I was in California, went right up Ventura Boulevard, door to door, beauty salon to beauty salon. We're a professional hair care line until I finally got 12 orders. But I went door to door to door to door to get it. When I started Patron, my partner and I at the time, Martin went one way and I went the other way. He went to Baja Cantina. I went to Spago's restaurant. This is 1989. and got him his accounts door to door. And then we took it one step further. Now, of course, and started making some money and then did everything we have to do. But let me go back to the early days of doing things door to door. When I started Paul Mitchell, I went door to door. After it took me more than a week, I got my first 12 orders, okay? These orders were anywhere from $30 to maybe $130, right? But I had to make out the check blank on who it was made out to. And I went to a distributor and I said, I'd like you to be my distributor for our new Paul Mitchell line. It's super, hairdressers love it. And the guy looked me in the eye, Mr. Henrietta, said, listen, we're Paris Ace Beauty Supply. We're one of the biggest ones in the world. Why should I take on your new line? You have no money, no advertising, no nothing. And I'd be spending money building your line. Not interested. I said, sir, I have one good reason why you should take it on. He says, well, please tell me, I'm all ears. And I put in front of him 12 checks. I said, those are 12 customers. If you'll buy $2,000 from me, you have the exclusive on LA and Orange County. We were really hard up and needed the money. He laughed his head off and said, okay. But then I said to him, but there's one more thing. Can we get paid? We're a new company starting out when I deliver the products. And he says, we're Paris Ace Beauty Supply. We pay our bills in 45 days, okay? No. So I said to him, I'll tell you what I will do. I already figured out in my mind, I will give you a 5% discount and I will be here every day until every single bottle is sold. Is that fair enough? Like I gave you your first 12 accounts. He laughed his head off and said, fair enough. And then he was at our 25th anniversary, 18 years ago. And he came as a guest and he told everybody, he said, JP walks out of my office. And then within less than 5 minutes, my warehouse is calling me. He says, there's some guy back here unloading his trunk on our dock, wanting a check for $2,000. He laughed his head and said, that must be JP. That's how we got going there. But the door to door is what God is in, and the door to door works really well. When someone knocks on the door, okay, you don't know who's there. Always smile. Always just give them a good smile. Tell them what you're there for. And if they're rude or ornery or just don't want to talk to you, thank them at least for the time of opening, ignore it, acknowledge you, and then go on to the next one on whatever you're selling. I might suggest also whatever service or whatever product you're selling, do not go into the selling business. Go into the reorder business. Make sure your service or your product is so well handled and received by them. They'll want to reorder it or tell other people about it. That's going into the reorder business, making your service or product that good.
I really appreciate that. I know they're going to love seeing where you started and where you're at today. So thank you so much.
Grab Good Fortune, the documentary. And, that's all about door-to-door sales too. You'll see.
I'll do that. Thank you.
All right.
This has been so awesome. We're so excited when you said yes. And you know, there's not a more perfect person to launch a series like this, JP. Like your energy is just so fun and inspiring. So thank you for your time today. I know your schedule is crazy, and Mimi, thank you so much for yours. And thank you everyone for making time to be
Love and
here.
happiness. Peace, love, and happiness. It still works.
Bye everyone. Have a great one.
Be
We'll see you
kind,
for
be
next
kind in
one.
life. Be kind.